This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on climate change and the effects of El Nino. The participants are Dr. Shrikant K. Panigrahi, Director General, Indian Institute of Sustainable Development, and Gaura Dhawan Lal, Anchor.
Hello and welcome to our program. The world's average temperature reached new high on Monday the 3rd of July, topping 17 degrees Celsius for the first time, and scientists have gone on record to say that this reading was the highest in any instrumental record dating back to the end of the 19th century. We have been seeing over a period of time a lot of conversations on global warming, also climate change. What is the El Nino effect, which is now impacting many parts of the world. We are delighted to have with us in the studio Dr. Shrikant K. Panigrahi. Dr. Panigrahi, welcome to the program.
Welcome, ma'am.
So, Dr. Panigrahi, first of all, just to give context to this, what really is the El Nino effect?
Ma'am, El Nino effect is very well known now because it is very frequent. It is nothing but a type of weather pattern which looks like highly unpredictable, and there is a regional impact. It's not a local impact. As a bigger geographical area comes under the negative impact of the weather, and particularly with respect to high temperature and flow. We all know there are low pressure belts, there are high pressure belts of the air system, and always from low pressure belts, the air flows to high pressure belts, and vice versa at different heights to maintain the balance of the planetary systems. These days, because of continuous greenhouse gas emissions throughout the world, from the nook and corner, let it be small country, island country, or a big developed nations, the greenhouse gas emissions are mounting up. And comparatively, our climate actions are nominal. So as a result, global warming is happening, and that is happening at local level, and that is happening at regional level, and that is happening at planetary level. And different local weather conditions along with flow of the air create a temporary effect for a particular period, covering a bigger chunk of geographical area where it creates havoc. Normally temperature goes up, and as a result it affects negatively to the life, properties, and the entire natural system of that particular region which is under El Nino effect.
Dr. Panigrahi, we also know that ocean water plays a huge role in controlling land temperatures, and everywhere the oceans are connected one way or another across our beautiful earth. India, we have the Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, and changes also take place over here. What is the connection, and do you think that climate changes in India and the role that these three oceans play across the world in mapping climate change or showing the effects of climate change, is that important?
Yes, ma'am. Very important question. And as you told, the water and land, they have different capability of heat retention. The land retains the heat for a lower time period. And as soon as sun rays fall into the earth, and particularly on the soil, it gets hot up immediately. Whereas it takes time for the ocean to gain the heat in a comparatively slower process. So also water takes more time to become cool, whereas the land becomes cool with a lesser time. Because of this, and there is a difference of temperature, that air pressure belts are created and air flows. But because of continuous greenhouse gases, the planetary system is totally disturbed, and the entire ecosystems, one system is not able to supplement with the other.
So when we talk of the El Nino phenomenon, do you think this is likely to strengthen? We are going to see more severe effects? And how differently are the northern and the southern hemispheres affected?
El Nino is decided through climate change modeling and weather modeling. Our institute, Indian Institute of Sustainable Development, collaborates with the Center for Atmospheric Sciences, IIT Delhi. In many of the projects, IMD is also a partner to us, Indian Meteorological Department, and where we assess and predict the future impacts as well as weather patterns. These kind of modelings are based on data, historic data in last few years, and the changes that taking place now and how it can be projected in future. These kind of things doesn't obey country boundaries. So these are all global, but our studies are largely into Indian context. So now the Bay of Bengal in Arabian Sea, there is a different mapping and impact of the El Nino effect so far as Southeast Asian context is concerned. Even some of the ocean currents, cold currents which are becoming hot, and that has a negative impact adding to the El Nino effect, which is taken into modeling. Again, large-scale plastic disposal ultimately reaches in the oceans, and their decomposition and chemical reactions with the salt water creates a different kind of situations contributing to the climate change and global warming. So collectively, all these affects the regional climatic situation, and over a period of time, it builds up a El Nino. So it is very difficult to tell for a layman, last year during this time it has come, now it will come. It's not like that. So modeling decides it based on so many variables which keeps changing over time.
Do you think the northern and the southern hemispheres are affected differently?
Yes, ma'am. As you are aware, both the poles at the northern and southern, the Arctic and Antarctica, they used to be the coldest part, and they have their summer and winter. But if you see now, in Antarctica, although it is a winter time, but the temperature has gone beyond the summer's temperature, which is exceptionally record high. So the temperatures once has gone up, we need to do some actions. That is, for a common man's language, aggressive climate change action by reducing the greenhouse gases to retrieve the earth. That is not happening to the extent it is expected. It is almost negligible. So as a result, the more greenhouse gas we are throwing to the sky, then we are required to reduce it from the atmosphere, and global warming is mounting up.
So just to foreground the actual areas of concern, we will of course learn from you what are some emission reduction measures that need to be taken on a war footing. Where is India compared to how do we see in terms of our commitment to reducing emissions, and where are some other countries? But before that, wanting to understand from you, Dr. Panigrahi, that there are serious backward and forward linkages to global warming. Cropping pattern is affected, food security in the long run is affected, life, livelihood, quality of life. These are all huge areas of concern, right? So when we talk of cropping pattern and the farmers, do you think that is one? So we know that climate change is not going to very easily get reversed. What are some other areas that countries need to work in alongside to know that this is how we need to move cropping pattern, this is how we need to change what crops when, different kinds of seeds, maybe different technology? What are your views on that?
See, as you told, it is very difficult to discuss anything in Indian context because the climate system, global water system, global biodiversity, that doesn't obey country boundaries. Country boundaries are imaginary, and this is based on some different regions. Natural boundaries are different, and if someone emits a lot of carbon dioxide equivalent, that is greenhouse gases, 6 greenhouse gases, in India, it has enough potential to impact the health of a US citizen sitting far away. And if somebody is going wrong in Germany, it will affect to a poor farmer in India as well. So it is a global system. Next thing is, there is a many solutions, and which is basically how it is approached. Impact assessment study is done, and then followed by mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation means long term and reduction of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere on a drastic way to retrieve the earth. but it requires climate-friendly technologies and requires a huge money. That is called climate finance. The developed countries assured many things, and there is a global debate and discussions. So, but prior to that, we can do many things at local level also with the help of the communities and local participation. And that is largely by adaptation. The temperature where it was there, it will there. Global warming will be there. But we can do some temporary repair and we can find temporary alternatives to temporarily manage the situation in our survival interest. One of the major threat because of climate change, adverse impact, global warming that you have already brought out is food security. In IST, we have a special research wings which works on impact of climate change on food security and how to manage that. If you see in middle part of the country, in Bidar and many other adjacent areas, the wheat production has drastically gone down. So there are very precious rice species, basmati or rice varieties with some fragrance. They have vanished away because they are very sensitive to heat and they require a lot of water and special care. Now, Indian Agricultural Research Institute is engaged in creating some kind of advanced seeds who can tolerate more temperature and can give better production with higher temperature. So, this kind of research with respect to different regions of the country to ensure food security is going on. So, to increase the water quantity and reduce the negative impact on water of the global warming. And there are many other areas research are going on.
Dr. Panigrahi, quickly, would you like to share maybe one success story that the Institute has had in ensuring that development is sustainable, maybe even if it's a temporary measure, but a success story?
We are doing some community-based projects along as a pilot experimental project being jointly with MIT, American University. It is called Community Laboratory. Particularly the poorest of the poor is the largest victim of the adverse impact of climate change and global warming. They lose their livelihood. The farmers, the fishermen, the artisans, they need huge protection. They are normally in developing countries like India and undeveloped countries, they are illiterate. They are not very education-wise sound. They fail to understand, a fisherman fail to understand why the fish catch is getting down and how it can manage. And now it will not getting from any direction, it goes from the coast. But it may have to go down to catch the fish, not at the ocean floor.
So the project is mapping all this?
Yes,
okay.
The mapping and these informations are continuously disseminated through different apps and organizing training programs for their taking the advantage of research and practically get the benefit to adapt the changes in climate change to enhance their livelihood. This is very essential, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Like in Himachal, if somebody is not able to cultivate apple, where forefather used to do, and he doesn't know what to do, he needs to be trained. If he is very emotional to go for apple production only, he has to go up where you will get lower temperature. Otherwise, he need to adopt seasonal vegetables which the temperature will be favorable.
Right. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Panigrahi. Very heartening to know that small efforts, but even if it's a drop in the ocean, definitely a move in the right direction. Thank you once again for joining us on our program.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on climate change and the effects of El Nino. The participants were Dr. Shrikant K. Panigrahi, Director General, Indian Institute of Sustainable Development, and Gaura Dhamanlal, Anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 928-909-4044.